This week's blog post is on architecture and sculpture and other items that used to be in Central Park and have now disappeared. This week's post is on the southern end of the park. If you've read any of my books on Alexander Hamilton, you know I'm a fanatic about primary sources. So when I started to research Central Park years and years ago, one of my first steps was to look at all the photos and all the contemporary reports that I could find. You can see the resulting essays on my website using the Central Park tag, especially the pages on early images of the park. This post and the following one include images of buildings, sculptures, and landscape features in the south and north ends of Central Park that I did not write essays on because they've long since disappeared. So, we're starting at the southeast entrance. When construction of the park began in 1858, the southeast corner of Central Park at 5th Avenue and 59th was the park's main entrance. For years, New Yorkers debated how to embellish that area. In the meantime, a fountain was erected with a small figure in it. It's just a little boy next to a bird of some kind. Today, the Pulitzer Fountain and the Sherman sculpture mark the southeast entrance. Each of the original entrances to Central Park bears a name engraved beside the entrance. I've given you a link to my posts on the park's gates. At the southwest corner is the Merchant's Gate. Directly inside that gate stood a bronze allegorical figure of commerce by Paris sculptor Jules Fesquet. The uninspired work was donated by an expatriate New York merchant in August 1865. Daytonian in Manhattan gives details of commerce's trials and tribulations over the following decades. The latest photo I've seen in the New York City Parks and Recreation Archives dates to 1934 and shows the sculpture missing an arm. Moving north, we come to the zoo. In the early years of Central Park, people began donating animals that ranged from pets to elephants. This menagerie was emphatically not part of Olmsted and Vaux's Greensward plan. The animals were kept in the basement of the arsenal and in ramshackle huts that surrounded it. During the Tweed years, 1870 to 71, Jacob Ray Mould was commissioned to design a large wooden structure near the arsenal to house some of the animals. It stood just west of the arsenal. That's the menagerie building is this. Mould's menagerie building was torn down in the late 1930s to make way for Robert Moses's revamped zoo. We are moving on to the north edge of Sheep Meadow. The Mineral Springs building was designed by Calvert Vaux in an exotic Moorish style during the late 1860s. The Board of Commissioners report said that it was done, quote, by the universal and urgent demand of the medical profession of New York upon grounds of public health and utility, end of quote. Its elaborate silver faucets dispensed 10 varieties of mineral water. The kiosk was, as I said, at the northern edge of the sheep meadow. A partnership named Schultz and Warner agreed in 1867 to pay for the construction of the building, whose cost presently ballooned to $43,000, and in return they were given the right to operate the Mineral Springs for 5 years. In January 1871, the pair begged the park's Board of Commissioners, who at the time were Boss Tweed's men, to pay for and take over the building and just give them a lease for the concession. They also asked the board to build a carriage road to the Mineral Springs kiosk so that the many invalids who came for the benefits of the waters would not have to walk to it. Schultz and Walker's letter was printed as a supporting document to the report of the Board of Commissioners of Central Park for 1871-72. I've given you a link to that. By the 1950s, the Mineral Springs building had fallen into disrepair. Robert Moses tore it down and erected a nondescript building in its place, which today houses a Pain Quotidien. Okay, now we're moving near the northern end of the mall. The Ladies' Refreshment Salon, just northeast of the mall, overlooking the lake and the Ramble, was designed by Calvert Vaux, the park's co-designer and consulting architect. Although it was intended originally as a genteel retreat where ladies might take refreshments, it opened in 1864, serving light refreshments to everyone, since no other restaurants had been built in the south end of the park. It was referred to as the Casino, which meant little house, not gambling den. In 1929, Mayor Jimmy Walker licensed the casino to a friend for use as a high-class nightclub. After Walker fled corruption charges in 1932, Robert Moses had the casino razed to make way for a playground. The Summer Stage Theater now stands on the casino site. And near the casino was this sculpture. During the 19th century, Robert Burns was tremendously popular among New Yorkers, especially those of Scottish descent. This 1862 sculpture by Robert Thompson was titled Auld Lang Syne, after one of Burns's poems. Thompson represented Tam O'Shanter and Suitor Johnny, who were drinking buddies in Burns's poem Tam O'Shanter. Thompson was one of the stone carvers who worked on the reliefs at Bethesda Terrace. Auld Lang Syne was donated to the park by a group of Scotsmen and placed near the casino, northeast of the mall. However, the work was sculpted from sandstone and it soon began to deteriorate. It was soon moved inside Mount St. Vincent, on which there will be more in next week's post. I've given you a link to an article by Daytonian in Manhattan on Auld Lang Syne. That's it for this week. Thanks as always for listening.